Alright guys, we're gonna get started now. If you guys can please just take your seats.
Good evening, everybody. Your Highness, dear guests, thank you for coming today. I'll be your host today. My name is Mohammed Shahid, and I would like to welcome you all to introduce the new venture in collaboration between the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, KHK Sports, Brave Combat Federation, and the Bahrain Mixed Martial Arts Federation. We'll be launching the most historic and largest amateur MMA event, the MMA Super Cup. Before we begin our proceedings, I'd like to introduce a quick video to let us know the refresh of memories about Brave International Combat Week and what the world can expect from this new venture in March 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brave International Combat Week 2022. صاحب السمو.
My vision is not a secret. I'm a straightforward person. I'm trying to be the best, and our vision is to make MMA in the region very popular.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Bahrain is taking over the MMA world.
The vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa has been changing the sport of mixed martial arts since 2016. A new age of combat sports in the Kingdom of Bahrain and in the region started with the birth of Brave International Combat Week.
Today, with the IMMAF World Championship being announced to be in Bahrain, that's one of the biggest steps that we can see in the combat sports history of Bahrain.
In 2017, the partnership between the International MMA Federation and Brave Combat Federation began to shatter records and write a new story for the sport. On November 12, 2017, BICW hosted the first ever IMMAF Amateur World Championship outside of Las Vegas. With more than 250 athletes from 40 nations, it set new records, also bringing in the biggest Brave CF event of the year with 2 inaugural title fights. BICW 2017 cemented itself as the biggest combat sports festival in the region. In 2018, Brave International Combat Week broke its own records, bringing in 300 fighters from 45 countries and the return of Brave CF as the fastest growing MMA organization in the world of MMA. It was, once again, a magical week for combat sports lovers the world over. However, the best was yet to come. In 2019, the biggest BICW to date took place. It featured the return of Brave CF as the largest sports media property in the Middle East with the largest market share in Asia. The organization put on one of the greatest MMA events ever in front of global celebrities, heads of states, and sports leaders, all under one roof to witness the most valuable trophy in sports. During the same week, the IMMAF World Championship set new records that are yet to be broken, with more than 450 athletes from 52 countries. It was the biggest MMA week in all of Asia. This spirit of Brave International Combat Week has placed Bahrain on the martial arts map as the Combat Kingdom. And in 2022, the BICW is back. Bigger, stronger, better. An extraordinary Brave CF Fight Night will see the most legendary fights of the Kingdom's sporting history, with the biggest rivalries set to be resolved inside the Brave Arena. A week filled with passion, excitement, and entertainment like never before. And more, much more. Introducing to the world the beginning of a new revolution in the mixed martial arts industry. March 2022, in partnership with KHK Sports, IMMAF, Brave CF, BMMAF, will set a new course in the amateur MMA history books, the largest amateur MMA tournament in the world, designed to find out the best MMA nation in the world. This is Brave International Combat Week.
Ladies and gentlemen, the MMA Super Cup. This is a historic day for us. Bahrain has always been known for its innovation and sport development. But now I'm sure the world would like to know a little more about the MMA Super Cup and actually everything about the new venture. Before we start on that, I would like to introduce the president of the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, Mr. Kerrith Brown, and I also would like to congratulating him and Immaf for being the only MMA federation to achieve the WADA signature. The relationship between Bahrain and Immaf in the past 4 to 5 years is already part of the MMA history books, and today we see that relationship taking the development of mixed martial arts to the next level. So Mr. Kerrith Brown, please share with us the details behind the MMA Super Cup, the details behind the making of the MMA Super Cup, and why this will be groundbreaking for the sports of mixed martial arts on a national and international level.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Majesty, Your Highness, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here today in the Kingdom of Bahrain. For this honor and privilege, we extend our sincere thanks and appreciation to His Highness the King. We would like to thank His Highness Sheikh Nasser bin Hamad Al Khalifa, President of the Bahrain Combat Sports Council, His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa, founder of KH and the driving force behind MMA within Bahrain. We thank His Highness for his dedication, his commitment, which has been instrumental in the growth, development, regulation, and recognition of MMA in the Kingdom of Bahrain and in the Middle East. I truly think it's inspirational to MMA, to the community globally, especially, as I said, in the Middle East. Also, Mohammed Shahid for his vision and dedication in the development of MMA, and also one of the driving forces in Bahrain and in the Middle East and Asia as well. May I also thank the Bahrain Mixed Martial Arts Federation President Mohamed Qamber for his hospitality, also the support of the Bahrain Ministry of Sport and the National Olympic Committee. Immaf is now the only international governing body for MMA that is recognized by WADA. Our push now is to gain recognition within GACIF. So it gives me great pleasure in supporting the announcement of this amazing new event, the Super Cup World Team Championships. And what this means, really, in relationship for this new event, for me is very special. This is something that we spoke about many times, myself and Shahid, many afternoons and many nights of negotiating to see how we can further develop the support that we've had over the years of competing and having world championships in Bahrain. As I said before, it's been instrumental in terms of the support and development that His Highness has had the vision to support the development of mixed martial arts. And for this, it's not just about fighting, it's about the cultural development, it's about youth engagement, it's about communities, it's about diversity, and it's about sport for all. This is all encompassing of what Bahrain has done on a global stage. So for that, I can only thank you for the support that you have given Immaf and its development and its wider recognition, and as we push for recognition within GACIF. So this new initiative and this new direction for this Super Cup is truly amazing in terms of changing the game, in terms of amateur development, and now as a team formation, as nation v nation. What a feeling that's going to be in terms of changing the dynamics from the individual to the teams. So for this, in terms of the relationship, in terms of the national federations having the platform to compete with 7 men and 2 females and with substitutes is going to be a game changer in terms of the dynamics. The MMA Super Cup is a curtain closer in terms of that initially it should have been for 2020 or 2021, but unfortunately because of COVID and the protocols around, that has stopped many international federations from developing their sports, also stopped us from continuing to develop. So in terms of moving from 2020 to 2021 and now the event in 2022 was really for the end of 2021 had we competed our World Championships in 2021. Unfortunately, things have changed and that we had to change the dynamics, and for that we allowed the top 6 from the current world ranking to participate in the Super Cup. For that, we also decided to have 2 wildcards, which would include the Balkans and the Asia wildcard. The MMA Super Cup will be part of the biggest initiative, which will provide a huge prize funds with a pot of almost $225,000. So again, for the initiative, for this will enable for federations to compete with the opportunity of winning a prize money, which then will help them to develop their national federations, which will invest for more amateur athletes to go into competition globally. It will come to development the sport on a national level. And what that means, it gives them the opportunity for coach development and youth development as well. I'm very proud that Immaf is linked to this with KHK Sports, the Bahrain MMA Federation, and Brave FC to create a huge opportunity for the sport. The teams will have been chosen, obviously through discussions, and again because of COVID, we had to come up with a solution, and obviously because it's a test event, we have to try and come up with the best formula, and we felt this was the best initiative to include the top 6 with the 2 wild cards. It's something that we will review as part of the rankings going into 2022 as we start with a clean slate, obviously with our World Championships now from 2021, which will be in a couple of weeks, that we will clean the slates from after the World Championships, which will enable us to get the new format for 2022 for the Super Cup in 2022. With that being said, top 6 teams: Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Bahrain, Ireland, and Tajikistan. As I said, the 2 wild cards will be Asia and the Balkans. We want to focus on the opportunities, and some nations haven't had the opportunities, and we are able to do that by giving them the 2 wild cards. So imagine the best fighters of the federations from the Balkans and the Arab nations will be in those teams of the wild cards. So for me, to sum up the Super Cup, it's going to be an amazing event. It's a nation v nation. It's going to be exciting to see the dynamics. We know that Bahrain has shown their dominance within the continentals, within the World Championships. They've been in the top 2, top 4 for a considerable amount of years. This will put a lot of pressure on the home nation, which will be exciting for sure. For me, I'm looking forward to seeing the dynamics, for sure, from the president of the Bahrain Federation. And as I said, for me, having the experience coming from judo, we've had team championships, and only recently the team championships were in the Olympic Games for judo, and the dynamics was absolutely phenomenal. I have to reach out to the IGF president, Maris Visa, for his vision and the ability to change and incorporate team championships in the Olympic Games. For us, MMA, we're a young sport, and we want to be able to deliver the dynamics and the diversity across the board. So bringing in the international team championships, the Super Cup World Championships, is going to be great in terms of the dynamics. So I can't wait to see the outcome. I look forward to coming back in March, from the 7th to the 13th of March, and really look forward to seeing who will reign, who will have the bragging rights in order to say that they're the best national federation representing their country. So, as we always say in the game, game on. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kerrith Brown, for everything. And I would like to know all about the format of the MMA Super Cup and more details about how the event will look like. Now on to the president of the Bahrain MMA Federation, Mr. Mohamed Qamber. Could you please tell us the difference between the Super Cup and the other tournaments in the Immaf calendar, and what makes this all the most exciting? I hear that things will change the MMA industry, not just in terms of development, but also change in how it will be viewed by fans and the entertainment and media side factor. So to tell us more about these factors and difference, please welcome with me Mr. Mohamed Qamber.
Thank you, Mohammed. Your Highness, Sheikh Salman bin Mohammed, distinguished guest. First of all, I would like to congratulate the 6 countries who qualified for the MMA Super Cup, as well as the 2 regions who were chosen to be selected for the wild card by IMMAF board. I would like to officially announce and show you guys exclusively the official national team kits. We will have the Russian Federation, we will see the official national team kit for Russia, Ukraine, Republic of Kazakhstan, Republic of Ireland, Republic of Tajikistan, Balkan champions, Arab champions, and last but not least, the Kingdom of Bahrain. Wanted to introduce the national team kits because that's one of the many unique aspects of MMA Super Cup and what sets it apart of any other combat sport competitions, as well as IMMAF events. In addition to the prize money, the winner will take home this magnificent trophy. Here is the official MMA Super Cup trophy. MMA Super Cup will be the first ever team versus team competition between nations. And let me explain a little bit more about the compensation, because this is about the collective effort. Even if you win, you still need your teammates to have the same result, otherwise you will still lose. So this is what makes it really interesting. We will have 7 male categories and 2 female categories, plus 2 male substitutes and 1 female substitutes. We can see that the male divisions will start from bantamweight up to heavyweight, and the female division will be flyweight and bantamweight. The competition will bring in a bracket system that will look like what we will see now. We will have the draw in the coming month, which will decide who will compete against who. But what we can reveal now is the first top countries according to IMMAF ranking will be automatically seeded. So we can see that match 1 will have Russia, match 2 will have Kazakhstan, match 3 will have Ukraine, and match 4 will have the Kingdom of Bahrain. And of course, this is according to the official IMMAF ranking as per today. The MMA Super Cup will take place from the 8th to 12th of March. We can see that the team will arrive on the 7th of March, and then we will have the official registration and opening ceremony on the 8th. We will have the round 8 on the 9th, followed by round 4 on the 10th. Then we will have the Brave Night, which is going to be, I believe, a very big night. Mr. Mohammed will tell us more about it. Then we will have the finals and the team departures on the 13th. And finally, I would like to officially introduce our mascot. Please welcome our BICW 2022 Mma the Tiger. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mohamed Qamber, the president of the Bahrain Mixed Martial Arts Federation. And as the host of this press conference, I'd like to congratulate everybody on this panel, from Mohammed Qamber, Mr. Kerrith Brown, and Mr. Shahid, on the great news and achievement. It's an exciting news. This is truly about to change the MMA industry. We have always wondered about team versus team in MMA, nation versus nation. And now we get to see it in the biggest setting possible, the Brave International Combat Week. It's very exciting to be in the line with His Highness Sheikh Khalid's vision and Immaf to be able to promote that kind of prize money for National Federation. Let's get back to the Brave International Combat Week. We know that in 2017, 18, and 19, it was a big historic show and a monumental moment for sports, not just in Bahrain, but also became the largest MMA festival in Asia in a stellar moment for the MMA industry. With us today is Mr. Shahid, Mohammed Shahid, the president of Brave Combat Federation. We know that Brave International Combat Week is the pride of Brave CF, and every Brave International Combat Week we witness is the best Brave CF event of the year. Today, BICW is not just an MMA festival, but it's a symbol of MMA development. And as president of Brave Combat Federation, Mr. Mohammed Shahid, tell us about Brave International Combat Week, the Brave CF event. What does this new venture mean?
Thank you, Mohammed. I don't think my friends left a lot for me to speak about. They've given a lot of information and detailed information for everybody to understand how historic this moment is for the Kingdom of Bahrain and for the sport of mixed martial art. But firstly, I would like to thank His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa for his leadership and support for developing sports in general, but also mixed martial art around the world. I'd also like to thank His Highness Sheikh Salman bin Mohammed, President of the Bahrain Combat Sports Council, for your support for developing mixed martial art, but also the whole of combat sports in the Kingdom of Bahrain. A big thank you to the General Sports Authority and the Bahrain Olympic Committee for making the return of Brave International Combat Week possible. I'd like to take this moment also to thank the International Mixed Martial Art Federation for their 10th anniversary and also for getting the status as a WADA signatory. So it's work that they have put on for the past 10 years, and we're proud to be a part of their legacy. Last but not least, most important, I would like to thank all the media, national and international, for all your support since the day one, the beginning of KHK Sports and the beginning of Brave Combat Federation, and making us every year achieve big steps, big goals, but always being behind us, backing us, and supporting us, and being the voice for the vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid. Talk about the vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid. The vision of His Highness Sheikh Khalid bin Hamad Al Khalifa is a very clear vision for the sport of mixed martial art. And if you put it in simple words, it's about developing the sport of mixed martial art from an event business to a sports business. But it's also giving opportunity and creating a global ecosystem for the sport of mixed martial art that allows opportunity for athletes around the world to compete and be the best and achieve their dreams regardless of religion, race, nationality, or even marketability. This vision was created 6 years ago, which was born in Bahrain in a similar press conference like this. And the name of that vision for the athlete was called KHK MMA, but the name of that vision for the industry of mixed martial art was called Brave Combat Federation. Since then, Brave has traveled to 25 countries in 5 continents, became the fastest growing mixed martial art promotion in the world, achieved the largest market share in Asian continent, European continent, African continent, became the largest sports media property in the Middle East. And today, we always are proud to say that this Bahraini brand is the only truly global mixed martial art promotion that exists. While we see Brave's development and what Brave has been doing in the development of sport of mixed martial art at a professional level for the past 5 years, what the International Mixed Martial Art Federation was doing at a grassroots level, recognition level for the sport of mixed martial art for the past 10 years was also something that we always acknowledge and we are proud of. But when the Brave Combat Federation and the International Mixed Martial Art Federation joined hands, Brave International Combat Week was born, where we saw a celebration in the Kingdom of Bahrain every year that celebrated the achievements of IMAF and Brave Combat Federation by hosting some of the best or the biggest Brave Combat Federation events at an annual level, but also the biggest world championships every year. But today, after 2 years, we didn't have Brave International Combat Week. We didn't see those festivals in Bahrain. It is exciting for me personally as an MMA fan to have Brave International Combat Week back to Bahrain. But this time, it also shows the result of the relationship and the partnership the IMAF and Brave Combat Federation has together. And the result that it's going to be putting together is going to be the largest development program for the amateur mixed martial art, which is the MMA Super Cup. MMA Super Cup is the largest amateur mixed martial art tournament in the world. This is going to be an event that is going to be the game changer in the sport of mixed martial art. And when we say that, I know that my colleagues have given a lot of information, but to add to that, and I don't think that the more we repeat, it's always going to be better. This is going to be the first time mixed martial art is going to bring nations closer towards the sport. This is the first time we're going to see the private sector getting closer to the sport of mixed martial art. And this is the first time we're going to have the highest level of national pride factor. And this is going to be the first time we're going to be able to see the national federations earn revenue from the events that could be contributed and provided back to their development programs in their countries. So personally, it's an honor for me to be part of this panel and be here in this historic moment. So today is not about Brave Combat Federation, I would say. You will have a lot of information about the fight card in the coming weeks. Today is about the future of mixed martial art. Today is about the return of Brave International Combat Week. Today is about the introduction of the MMA Super Cup. But I will not end the day and let my dear media friends leave without having any information about Brave Combat Federation. We have confirmed a title fight for Brave 57 in Bahrain. And I thought of announcing that title fight today. And the reason why is all this development program, all this work we have put in the past 6 years, the IMAF, the KHK Sports, and MMA Brave Combat Federation, is towards making sure that we also have a development of a sport within the country, and to see one day a superstar emerge amongst us and become the face of mixed martial art around the world. So the announcement that I want to make is a title fight for the vacant bantamweight world championship title of Brave Combat Federation. And the title fight is going to be between a fighter from Ireland, SBG Ireland, from the team of the legendary Conor McGregor, will be fighting for the vacant bantamweight championship title against the pride of Bahrain, the kingdom's only Hamza Kohiji. This is something special for us as Bahraini MMA fans to see that in professional sports we're going to have one of the biggest achievements for the Kingdom of Bahrain, a historic moment for the Kingdom of Bahrain to see a Bahraini fighter at the professional level competing at a global stage for the World Championship for the first time, and that is going to put a mark in our history books, in the combat sports history that we're going to be writing for the future and the legacy. So congratulations, Hamza. Congratulations, Brad Katona. This is going to be an exciting fight, and I look forward to seeing that fight happen. So thank you very much. Thank you for everything, and we hope that Brave Untitled Combat Week is going to be as exciting as ever, and we know that it's going to be something always special. But the coming weeks, we're going to have more and more information about the fight card, about events that's going to take place along with the Brave International Combat Week, the entertainment, the concerts, and we don't want to give away everything in the first press conference. So stay tuned, follow our social media pages, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed Shahid. And what a great announcement made by you, that having our very own Hamza Koji fight for this belt.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a big event. It's going to be a national event. And we're excited to have the Brave International Combat Week back in Bahrain. I can personally tell that I've missed the entertainment, celebration, energy of the BICW. For the past 2 years, everybody was affected by the pandemic that happened. But having BICW back in Bahrain and having the top match, main event, Hamza Al-Koheji fighting for the title, that will be enormous. And plus, we've got the MMA Super Cup, where nation versus nation, team against team. Bahrain is going to be hosting the first ever event. As always, the Bahrain Mixed Martial Arts Federation, always, like my good brother Mohamed Qamber says, we keep the bar very high. And it's for the other countries to come and beat us in setting the bar higher and higher. So I'm going to open the panel now for questions for the media. So to everybody on the floor and all the members that are online watching on our YouTube channel around the world, please address your questions through our Twitter page. That's at Brave MMAF. Brave MMAF. And questions?
Thank you very much. Mahmoud Rafiq from 24/7 News. Would you kindly just give us details about the format, and given circumstances of pandemic is going on, though Bahrain is a success story in that also, we are almost very much safer nation as compared to others. But what will be the format in worst scenario? Will it be virtual only, or the visitors will be there, the people, fans will be allowed, and how this will work out? Just
Yep, definitely. I mean, if you look at the sporting history of mixed martial art, we've been one of the sports that has not stopped during pandemic. And if you look at Brave Combat Federation during the 2020 year and 2021, which was affected the whole sporting world with pandemic, you still saw Brave continuing the events around the world, not just in Bahrain. But one of the reasons for that was we've had one of the strongest COVID policies that we've put together. And of course, it wouldn't have been possible for Brave alone to put that COVID policy together, but we got amazing support from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, the Ministry of Health of Bahrain. And together we sat with the National Task Force of COVID and created a plan. And not that it was great for us to hold the event itself, that plan became an example for the rest of the events and our partner friends who are holding combat sports and sporting events around the world to share that COVID policy and make events happen. Of course, we have to see what the national policy for COVID is as we go forward. But at the end of the day, if you look at the 2020 and 2021 events that Brave has held in Bahrain, we have followed a very strong policy, creating a bubble for the athletes that is traveling around the traveling to Bahrain. But also, we've had 2020 events without fans, and 2021 was a little bit more stronger, so we had it outdoor, and it was just as beautiful as any other Brave event. We missed the shouting and the screaming of the fans, but as long as the event happens, the fighters get to fight, and the show must go on. Like Kerrith says, so, it's game on, so we got to go and do what's best, So we have the policies. Scenario one is where everybody's happy. We have an event with a crowd and celebration. Scenario 2 would be an empty venue, and scenario 3 would be to do an event outdoor. But as far as the COVID policy goes, we have followed one of the strongest COVID policies during the worst of the pandemic time. So we're confident that we're able to make it happen. But we haven't only done that in Bahrain. The interesting part is we've used that policies around the world. So if you look at 2020 and 21, we have gone to 7 countries in Europe, and we have followed the policies with the government, and they were very happy with how the success of the events were. So we're definitely very confident. If Mohammed wants to add anything more.
Nothing more to add. As you said, Mohammed, we are following a very strong policy of COVID that we have been using for the past 2 years during the pandemic. We have the option of having the event indoor, outdoor, with a crowd or without. Of course, it will be depending on what the government will come out in the coming 2 months. According to the situation, the global situation of COVID, but we are ready. I'm confident that we can deliver the event in any scenario.
Do we have any other questions?
We have a question from Thomas from Sports Media Group, and he's asking, are we getting a competition like Davis Cup or Ryder Cup for MMA sport? Is there plans to host this tournament internationally, and how often do you expect it to take place?
Question is for?
The question is directed to either Kerrith Brown or Mohammed Shahid.
Kareth, go first.
Yeah, you know, it's similar in terms of the format. We intend to run it on a regular basis, on a year-to-year. You know, because that will increase more competitions for the athletes. As we said before, nation v nation is the first format under the Super Cup, and we want to further develop that to ensure that you know, we set a high benchmark in terms of you know, the competitions that we have. So going into 2022, we have the first one in March, and then hopefully we'll have one at the end of the year to conclude for 2022. So we think it's an exciting format, and one that the federations will engage, and that will drive the smaller federations to engage more on our competition structures, such as continentals, world championships, in order to drive their federation to compete maybe at the top 6. Maybe we'll expand it at a later date, maybe from 8 to 16. That's the idea, is to grow it so it becomes a global competition, which it is in terms of you know, that first stake in the ground with the stakeholders, and really to continue with the investment, which will have a major impact within the national federations.
Would you like to add something?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, MMA Super Cup is, for me, as a once upon a time athlete who used to compete in mixed martial art, for us it's a dream come true, but it's also a big step towards development of mixed martial art. For example, MMA Super Cup is not just about making a competition where athletes can compete. That's great, and you have a lot of events, but it's also an event that is going to be leading in a way that why should national federations compete in the ocean as Asians, Europeans, and the worlds, because that is going to be so important for them to compete, for the national federations to be able to qualify as a top 6 or top 8 ranked countries in the world. So it adds meaning to a lot of events that is under the IMAF, but at the same time it's also one of the biggest events for the development of sport. And the reason why is if you have an event that is actually giving funding back to the national federations, that makes it much more interesting for the national federations to be able to come and compete, and they have a reason for why they can go back to their government and ask for a program for development, because they know that there's going to be a revenue from events coming in if they become the top place. And the odds are good, because you're talking about being first, second, or third from 8 teams, not from 30 teams. So that's so much more nicer than having 32 teams and trying to get your first place prize money. But on the other hand, on the development of sports side, we're also seeing the wild cards, which means that the countries that has didn't have the funding or were not part of the events before will now have the opportunity to be part of that, spread awareness for their countries about what the sport is about. And what you see in this wild card, where you have the Balkan region and the Arab Championship, is what happens if the country don't have enough fighters as well. So even if they don't have the funding and they don't have enough fighters, can there be a model where you can still spread awareness to those countries? Yes, that's where you create a confederation model, where you have a region like Arab and Balkan, where they can get the best fighters from each country to come together, which will actually spread awareness to their own countries, even if they have only one top fighter. So if you say that will this be consistent, it has to be consistent. And I think that is the plan why the IMMAF and KHK Sports has made this event together. It's about the development of the sport, and this is a big step towards the development of that sport of mixed martial art and the future of mixed martial arts. So I say it has to continue, and it has to be consistent, and we are doing everything we can to make sure that it is consistent. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder to our international media who are watching through our YouTube channel, they can send their questions using our Twitter page. That's at Brave MMAF. We have one more question.
Assalamu alaikum. First, I would like to congratulate IMMAF, BMMAF, and of course Brave on the upcoming MMA Super Cup and also the event. I have two questions. One question is there are countries like Morocco and Kuwait who doesn't have a federation, but they have like good fighters. In the past few years, we've seen a few of them. How can they, come forward and have a federation? Other than that, for the Super Cup, the Arab team, how would the team be selected as Arab champions? So this is another question.
Kareth, Mohammed?
Yeah. First of all, for the federations, Morocco and Kuwait, or in terms of that are not within the Immaf federations, then they can go online and apply, and we will help them and support them to set up within their country. We're an open, we're democratic in terms of the process, so it's clear. If you have connections and you want to facilitate that, then please give them, bring it to my attention, and I'll bring it to the staff, and then we'll try and facilitate and support them. In terms of the selection for the teams, for the Balkan and the Asia, so for Asia, that we have our representative on the board, which is Wissam Abanada, who's the board of director representative for Asia, who will speak to the two vice appointees of the Arab Federation, and that's how that will able to facilitate the selection. It's still fairly new, so there's a lot of work to be done in terms of the process. As anything, when you start off a new challenge and a new direction, there are always questions, and there are always somebody that's going to be upset that's not involved in that process. We understand that, but we have to be sensible here, because it's a new initiative. It's been sponsored, funded by His Highness, so we have to respect that. At the end of the day, the funding is a critical part of the development. Without this funding, this opportunity would not be here today, and I can only thank him for that opportunity again. Just as we've had 3 World Championships in Bahrain, that investment has a critical support in the development of the sport globally. So, in the fact that we've coming through a COVID protocol, coming through 2 years primarily without any events, only as last year into Q4 that we were able to put on events. So we've had a short time in terms of responding and being able to put the agenda together and put the terms of reference in order to be able to select this event. It's a test event. We will review it after the competition, and then we'll make sure that we take all that information and really set the format going into the back end of 2022, which will then, set the ball rolling for years to come for the Super Cup.
Thank you.
So we're receiving a lot of questions online about MMA Super Cup being a stepping stone towards MMA being parts of the Olympic. Conan Daly specifically asked Kerrith Brown, please update us on the IMMAF's campaign to make MMA an Olympic sport.
Great question. I mean, in terms of everybody's hot topic is, will MMA be in the Olympics? It'd be great to have MMA in the Olympics, but let's not, get away from the fact that this sport is not recognized as yet. We've had 6 years of campaigning in terms of getting to be the only international federation to be a signature to WADA. 6 years. 7 years, we're coming into our 7th years to making our application as part of that process to be recognized under the Global Association of International Sports Federation. That is the mechanics of an international sport, to be recognized within the Olympic family, and one step closer to being recognized as the IOC. So, that journey is ongoing. It's a political journey. We will continue to campaign. We'll continue to drive that initiative to be recognized as a sport. And if we're recognized as a sport, then yes, why not push to become an Olympic sport? There's an opportunity. Every sport has to compete at every level. We should be entitled to compete at that level as well. And we feel we're in a good position. As I've said before, the sport of MMA has started upside down. We're connecting the dots, from the top to the bottom. We're building the foundation for youth. That will be the next challenge, to push and to ensure the integrity of the sport is met at the highest level, at a gold standard, in order to compete at the Olympic Games. It's not given. We have to prove that we are worthy of being part of the Olympic family. We have to have values that show. And as part of this new initiative, this new format of team championships, nation v nation, it brings nations together. It's what it's about. It's about bringing the athletes, the coaches, the federations. It's about leaving the legacy behind for our generation of the youth, that we can hand over the baton, that we're fairly confident of the work that we've done as stakeholders to ensure that we reach that Olympic value. So if the Olympics come knocking tomorrow, we're ready. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have a lot of work in order to achieve that recognition process.
Thank you. We got one more question.
Yes, we're actually receiving a lot of questions on Twitter right now. So just to consolidate a few together, a common theme from the Balkan regions, a lot of the media outlets are asking, what can this competition bring to smaller, lesser known nations in the sport?
That's you. I can answer that, but I think it's a stronger answer from probably Shahid. But what does it bring? It gives them the opportunity to be part of a team under the wild card. Means those teams that don't have a stronger investment from into the national federations from their government. It will enable those smaller federations to pick athletes to support them into this new format of the Super Cup. And what we want to do is to develop that over the years. It's not just 6 teams. We want to be able to expand it from 6, 8 to eventually 16, and beyond that, in terms of having more national federations that will have the investment from public sector, will have the investment from their government structure as well, in terms of sports and tourism. So it gives a real open boundaries for the national federations to, represent their country at the highest level. And let's not make any doubts about it. The world of MMA and the bragging rights of nation v nation, Russia versus Bahrain, or Ireland versus Russia. And those are quite mouth-watering scenarios that we look forward to. It's always a question that's asked, who's the best nation? Now, the amateur development will have that answer, and we'll continue to develop that over the years.
Mohammed Shahid.
As a promoter, I would love to see Russia was Ireland, for sure. But like we discussed about the wildcards, that is one of the biggest, let's say, model that we've added to the MMA Super Cup for the countries that are not able to compete in the international competitions and be part of the world ranking. But also, if you see the inauguration of the MMA Super Cup, instead of adding 2 countries, we've added 2 regions. And that shows that it goes beyond just giving the opportunity to countries that are not able to compete internationally and be part of the top ranking, but also for bringing the countries together under one region like the Arabs or Balkans. So the Balkan region is today in the competition, which will have hopefully, based on the federations that's with IMMAF, we're looking at Bulgaria, Slovenia, Serbia for sure, and Croatia, Albania as well, maybe in the future, added from fighters. So all these countries are going to be part of it because of the wild card. But again, like Mr. Kerrith was saying, that we're looking at a long-term goals for the competition. So if it is today 8 teams, it's going to be 16 teams or even more than that in the future. So it's a long-term goal for the development. And definitely one thing is for sure, you're not only going to get opportunity for the smaller countries, but also for the best athletes. One point that I want to make very clear is when we have the national teams compete against each other, these are not going to be athletes who can register to a competition. These are athletes, strictly the best 9 fighters plus the substitutes. That's going to be the best fighters from each country because they pay nothing. The competition for the athletes are going to be, all the federation has to do is select the best fighters from your country to come and compete and take that prize money back home. And that's the competition. So it's really exciting from an entertainment perspective, because there's not going to be any more excuses that I was not able to be part of it because we didn't have the funding or we didn't have the fees to register. All that excuses go out of the window. We're going to see the best fighters from all the 6 countries, and the 2 wildcards going to come to Bahrain and compete against each other to see which is the best mixed martial art national federation or nation in the world.
All right, we've got time for 2 more questions.
Assalamu alaikum. First, congratulations for everyone here. Really, we here make history, make future. I'm very happy. First, because I'm listening about something about Arab fighters or Arab team. I'm sorry, I will speak Arabic now because I will speak about the Arab team because everyone, if you see from Arab, you know what happened here. Here is the future. لو سمحت عاوز أسأل إيه الرولز اللي هتتوقف عليها اختيار المقاتلين العرب من الاتحادات العربية؟ يعني إزاي هنختار المقاتلين العرب؟ ده رقم 1. رقم 2، الدول اللي ما فيهاش اتحادات، ايه الحل مع الامر ده ولا ازاي هيقع الاختيار؟ هل الامر بالتزكية من رؤساء اتحادات او هل ليه قوانين معينة او رولز معينة؟ شكرا ليكم و congratulations for everyone.
Just translate his question for the panel. He was asking about the criteria of choosing the Arab fighters, and for the countries who have Arab fighters but do not have federation, how will the selection be for the team members from the Arab region?
Yeah, so from the Arab regions, again talking to Wissam Abanada, who's the representative on the board, they will look at obviously the World Championships that are coming up in a few weeks. They will look at the selection of some of the Arab nations that are represented in the World Championships, and then they will look at the other federations and see what athletes are within the Balkan, obviously within Asia, and within the Arab region as part of that selection criteria. So it's still not clear as to the team that is selected as yet. So there's a lot of communication that's gone out to start to talk to the national federations that are under Immaf. Unfortunately, if there are fighters that are from other Arab regions that are not within Immaf, that's something that we have to look at. But unfortunately, it might be a little bit too late for them to be included. But we will look at the possibilities to try and be inclusive. But at the same time, we have to be sensible. It's a new format. It's obviously we have a lot of work to do into ensuring the format is going forward into 2022. So we'll collate all the information. We'll try and do our best to be able to include as many permeable scenarios to be inclusive.
اختصارا لجواب مستر كارث براون رئيس الاتحاد الدولي، اختيار اللاعبين العرب سوف يكون عن طريق ممثل الاتحاد الدولي الأستاذ فراس أبي نادر، فهو بيكون يشرف على اختيار اللاعبين بالنظر إلى نتائج من بطولة العالم اللي بتصير في أبو ظبي، وبناء على ذلك بيختارون اللاعبين العرب. وأما للاعبين العرب اللي ما عندهم اتحادات رسمية تمثلهم في الاتحاد الدولي، حاليا كخطة الاتحاد الدولي بينظرون في أمرهم إن شاء الله في البطولات القادمة يبحثون عن آلية اختيار لاعبين اللي ما عندهم أي اتحاد دولي مثل دولهم.
Can I just add? So part of that communication, they're already in talks to Saudi and UAE as part of that discussions to start to look, because obviously there are two federations that that are coming over to the World Championships.
Okay. We've got 2 more questions.
Yes. So just to consolidate, we have a lot of journalists in Ireland who are asking plenty of questions. So I'll direct one question to Kerrith and one question to Mohammed Shahid. For Kerrith, in terms of the selection for Team Ireland, what is the IMAF's role in terms of ensuring that all the different gyms in Ireland gets the fair shot to have their fighters participate in this team? And the second question to Mohammed Shahid, this is from Razvan from MMA Everything IR, and he's asking, Brave Dublin, is it on the 2022 schedule?
Thank you very much. So we're in talks to the president of the Irish Federation to obviously it's their decision in terms of selecting the team. So we have to be careful as Immaf, as the international federations, that we don't put too much emphasis on the selection. That's not our job, it's not our role, but at the same time we have to ensure that there's a fair process and a fair policy that is applied within the national federations. It's a great problem to have for John, as he will make that selection. For sure, I think they'll do a good job to be inclusive of all their clubs that are registered within the Irish Mixed Martial Arts Federation, and that's part of the process, that they have to be a member of the Irish Federation to be included in selection. I'm pretty sure they'll have their own selection criteria to get the best fighters. Again, the World Championships is coming up. They're representing at the World Championships, and I'm pretty sure that some of those athletes that do well will probably be included in that process.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at the history of Brave, before even the first Brave that happened in Bahrain, we went on a tour around the world and did some press conferences about which are the countries that we want to develop and introduce Brave in the beginning. So you will see that one of the interviews that I did was in Dublin before the start of even the first Brave, and the goal was to hold a long-term strategy for Brave Combat Federation in Ireland. And that was a very long time ago. I was half the size I am today, but there was definitely things that changed in Ireland, and we had to move our event in Dublin to Northern Ireland. But and then we came back, and of course John had a lot of work to do in terms of getting mixed martial art back, and I'm sure that Kareth knows a lot about how they had to fight back to bring MMA back into Ireland. So here they are. John is doing a great job. They're having a big team competing in events right now. Last year we saw that. This year we're going to see a big team from their side. So definitely we're expecting. That's never gone away. We're working with John day to day and discussing about how we can bring Brave to Ireland. So that's definitely a part of the plan. It was not a plan that happened today. That's why I want to clear that it was a plan even before the first Brave, that Ireland was an important country for Brave Combat Federation. So we're excited to have them here in MMA Super Cup compete with us. You see some of the top fighters from Ireland in Brave Combat Federation. And the announcement today was also Brad Katona with Hamza Kohiji for the bantamweight title. So you see our relationship with Ireland is really strong, and we want to keep growing that, definitely.
All right, and we've got time for the final question of the day. Go ahead, Coach Eldar.
Hello, everyone. And last time, I remember when we had press conference, there was a question when Bahrain will have a World Brave title, and that time I said that I'm going 2019 to bring this Brave title to Bahrain, and it happened. And I think it's time for Hamza Kohiji to do the same after this press conference and to bring another belt to KHK, inshallah. And my question, I'm head coach of Bahrain national team, and I have a lot of friends in Russia as well. So everybody, for athletes, it's maybe it's first time the so big money prize in amateur sport, because usually amateur sport is a place where you gain experience, where you build your name, titles, but not like make money. So this time there is huge prize money, and everybody asking where this prize will go. Will it go to federation, or it will be for fighters? So I think for fighters it's important question. And second question, if it goes to federation, Mr. Mohamed Qamber, did you decide where you will go for vacation? Because the main prize will stay in Bahrain.
Believe me, when we get this, I'll take you with me on a vacation.
Do you want me to answer?
Answering the question about where the money will go, of course, as we discussed, the money will go to the federation. It's the prize money is for the development of the federation. Of course, the federation can decide if he want to share this prize money with his fighters, or he want to use this money for the development of the sport, or to participate more in the international events. But our goal will be to help this federations to build more and to continue the growth.
Yeah, I'll just back that up. There's a lot of pressure on you coming for the Super Cup. I hope you're ready for the pressure, for sure. But yeah, if we talk about the prize money, it's the first time, over $225,000 in the pot for the national federations as part of the development. I'd like to think the national federations will, support the athletes in giving them some expenses towards if they are fortunate to be in the top three. That's the process that we will look in terms of ensuring that continues. And we will give advice to the national federations to make sure that they keep their amateur status intact, and we have to police that for sure. Well, I just want to add to that in terms of the event. In terms of nation v nation, it's going to be a great experience. Coming off my own experience from judo and being involved in national team championships, it's a great feeling. It's great to be an athlete, to be part of a team representing your country. Forget about the money. It's about representing your country. That's what matters first and foremost. The money is just something superficial. I thank His Highness for that support as well. It's important in terms of a stakeholder coming up and standing up and making that commitment. And it's for the development of the sport globally. That's to ensure that just as I've said before, that Bahrain, His Highness, has been part of that drive for recognition, and to ensure regulation is at the highest level. As I said, it's taken us 6 years to be a signature to WADA. We're in our 7th year to go for the recognition of the sport, and part of that is investment. And as I said, as a key stakeholder, we have to ensure that this event goes the right way. We'll review it. We want it to continue. I thank His Highness again for his investment and his vision. I want to thank Mohammed Shahid also for his contribution in terms of ensuring that Bahrain set a high benchmark in terms of events, in terms of making that gold standard for the national federations to be able to feel proud that when they come here, they're representing their country at the highest level. So for me, I'm looking forward to it. As I said, I've had my own experience of going through team events, and I can tell you the dynamics are going to change when it's nation v nation, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we conclude our press conference. Thank you, Your Highness, for attending. Distinguished guests, thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see you in upcoming press conference. And of course, we can't wait for March to come anytime soon for the MMA Super Cup, and of course, Brave International Combat Week. Thank you very much.
One moment.
Your Highness. We're going to present His Highness a trophy from Mr. Kerrith Brown, the President of Immaf.